Hi, and welcome to the Science Fantasy Experience, and to Getting to Know a Transformers Collector 2020 edition. So, a good few weeks back, Bordersdude brought back this type of video. It's been doing the rounds for like 10 years, but I've never had the opportunity to do one since I've really only been doing YouTube coming up to almost 2 years now, so I've just never got around to having a go at this type of video or answering the specific questions that Bordersdude asked. So I thought I'd give it a go, albeit not being a huge Transformers collector, sure. But they do make up a core part of my collection, and I've enjoyed Transformers since 1984. So why the hell not? So who is your favourite Transformers character? So, my favourite Transformers character is Wreck-Gar. Any of the Junkions, to be honest. I love the idea in the movie where they end up on the planet of Junkion, and there they have transforming motorcycles that can ride each other, and Wreck-Gar is the epitome of cool for me. He talks in pop culture references throughout the movie and season 3, and he just gets some incredible lines. The fact that they got Eric Idle from Monty Python to voice him is just incredible. To be honest, the whole movie is full of absolute Hollywood stars, but I really thought Eric Idle brought that character to life. And you know, when you first see the movie as a kid, you know, I was like 7 years old, and I liked that they were incredibly sinister. You didn't really know that they were good guys or bad guys, and you know, ultimately, you know, they're good guys. They rebuild Ultra Magnus, but because they had red eyes, you know, it's the typical Decepticon thing for, you know, bad guys to have red eyes. So you're thinking, you know, maybe they are. And it just, as a kid, it felt like I was filled with absolute, like, peril at that part. The fact that they could, you know, put themselves back together. Ultimately, you know, one would get knocked off, transform, and the other one would get back on. They all look kind of just that little bit similar and just completely bashed to pieces, full of spikes. And the fact that he's got a moustache, you know, who doesn't like characters with moustaches, toys with moustaches, Transformers with moustaches? Come on. And he got some incredible toys. I owned the G1 Wreck-Gar as a kid, and he's a behemoth. He's such a big G1 Transformer, and considering it's, you know, from that time period, hell of a lot of articulation in his arms, and he just was big, chunky, and loads of fun, great transformation. Subsequently, they brought the ability, if you'd got 2 Wreck-Gars or Junkions, that when Reveal the Shield and Transformers United came out, they gave us the ability for them to ride each other. You know, as Transformers characters and molds get used, Wreck-Gar's only had a few, so he's kind of in that elite group of people that have not been diminished by Transformers. And he has got an incredible third-party version by KFC, Keith's Fantasy Club. It looks like one of the best third-party figures I've ever seen, and if I ever do return to collecting Transformers again, which I'm sure it's inevitable that I will, he's very high on the wish list for me to to get. So yeah, Retgar, my favourite Transformer of all time. Favourite figure in your collection? So I'm sure that some of you that know me and have watched my channel are thinking, oh, he's just going to say Glacial Lord, you know, he bloody loves that toy. Or he'll drop Power Master Prime with the Apex armour. Yes, that is the greatest toy ever made. Greatest G1 toy ever made. Full stop, hands down. Not actually my favourites. My favourite figure Transformer in my collection is G1 Nor. And it is for quite a few reasons. Not only is it one of the most G1 screen accurate figures from that time period, but it just looks like it jumped off the screen. The big eyes, the metally teeth, the colours. And I just have a really personal connection to this figure now. I never saw it in the shops back then. And I was desperate for it. Ever since the movie came out, I wanted one. I wanted one so badly, and I never ever saw it. And I only really got this last year. You know, thinking back to 1987, I think I bought one of the Seacons Jawbreaker, or Overbite, whichever you want to call it, because that was the closest thing to a Sharkticon I thought I could get to have something like that for when I was a kid that came close to that. So getting this last year, you know, it's a holy grail that came into my collection. And the fact that it was an impromptu gift from some really close friends of mine, you know, I went to go and see them for a play date evening and a subsequent following day at Birmingham Toy Fair. And we just gotten chatting about Sharkticons and Nor and how it was this incredible toy and how it's eluded me for years and years, and the person was incredibly generous to give me one from their collection. It's my thanks to them for imparting with one of their beloved Sharkticons. I know how much she adores them, and she's brought a lot of fulfillment to my collection through that. It's a super cool toy. It just looks like the film, transforms like really easily. It's loads of fun. There's shiny parts, movable parts, you know, the tail comes off to create the club weapon. It's the favourite toy, transforming toy in my collection. So, what else do you collect? Well, I wouldn't say I collected everything, but my collection is incredibly diverse, and there's just so many that I collect that I'd spend minutes and minutes talking about every toy line that I have in my collection and want to collect. But as I said, it's incredibly diverse, and it's because I have this methodology to collecting, you know, my own science fantasy experience, mantra, if you will. It's all based on the emotional connection I have to toys, whether that be through nostalgia or trying to get toys that I didn't have as a kid. Although I would have had toys in the same toy line, you know, I just didn't get that specific one. You know, if I think back as an example, last year at the toy fair, I picked up Mask Hurricane, a toy that I just didn't have as a kid and desperately wanted. You know, who doesn't love a 57 Chevy? in turquoise with flames on it. But I did have Condor and Bullet and some of the smaller ones. I never had any of the bigger mask ones. So over the years, I've picked up Rhino and I've picked up Hurricane. And I want to pick up one or two pieces from all these varying toy lines, because I do have that, you know, emotional connections with them. You know, maybe I'll want to pick up a toy representation of a character from a movie, whether it be, you know, the T-800 from Terminator 2 with his mangled face, or, you know, going down the route of something vintage, because I'll buy modern and vintage, you know. Thinking about what I picked up before doing this video, you know, I managed to grab a Casey Jones, I think it was either last year or the year before, because this was quite sought after for myself personally. It's not a rare toy at all, but it was one of the toys that I just didn't have as a kid and was desperate. You know, I had the Four Turtles, I had Ace Duck, a Foot Soldier, a Splinter, some of the other random ones, Napoleon, Boner Frog, but I never had Casey Jones, and it was the one that I was most desperate for. He's my favourite character in the cartoon and in the movie, and I was desperate to get something that I'd not had as a kid. So that makes up part of other collecting things that I'm into, not just Transformers or transforming robot toys, because that's the, as I said, it does make up a core part of my collecting. And if I'm thinking about transforming toys, you know, that's the best thing I bought last year is definitely a transforming toy, and it's not a Transformer, although it does have connections to it because it is the basis for Jetfire, Skyfire, call it what you will. That is Roy Foker's VF1S. The best toy I bought last year was this Valkyrie Factory / Arcadia VF1. It's again something that I've been desperate for, you know, in some ways since the 1980s, because Robotech was a cartoon that I watched back then and massively enjoyed, and then Macross was an anime that blew me away as an adult, realising that there were two different things, and then obviously seeing a jet turn into a robot and its wacky girl walk mode. You know, I just wasn't interested in the girl walk aspect as a kid. I just thought it was really stupid. But then as an adult collector, I'm wild about it. It's just the most interesting thing ever, and this is just ridiculously incredible toy to own. Most of the time I have it in the fighter mode because it just looks so good, and the tolerances are so strong that it's a little bit scary to transform, but pure enjoyment, and that's why I like collecting such diversity. And then maybe I'll just go crazily off-piste and pick up ridiculous sized action figures, because last year was the year of the action figure for my collecting, and I'm going all in with a 1/12 scale Street Fighter 2 Sagat, because I want a toy representation of my favourite character from that game, from that original time playing it in 1992 on the pier, that I just wanted to get an incredible toy representation on the shelves of something quite dear, and have that personal connection, as I mentioned, just hitting me every day when I look at the toy collection. So that is just a small smattering of what I collect. As I said, I could go on for ages about what I collect, but it is that whole mantra of the personal connection and taking it really deep rooted. Are you going to any conventions this year? I was going to go to Roll Call in April, and I was going to go to Portsmouth Comic Con in May. But basically, the coronavirus has stepped up, and I am not taking any risks being in public places with a lot of people. I have 6-month-old baby twin boys. I cannot go anywhere remotely to places like that where there's a bigger health risk, which is a shame because I was really looking forward to going to Roll Call, being a huge G.I. Joe fan, being able to see that as well as Transformers. And I've never had the opportunity to go to Portsmouth Comic Con because I'm always working on Saturdays, but I have that weekend off. These things could get cancelled though, you know, they're cancelling a lot of stuff with COVID-19, so we shall see. I'm not too worried about not hitting up some conventions because where I live in Portsmouth, there is tons of incredibly good, awesome toy shops to get me that new Toy Joy fix that I'm sure I'll need at some point. We've got full price, budget, vintage and modern toy shops aplenty in Portsmouth, and I've picked up some incredible stuff over the years there. I mean, no worries at all with not hitting up a convention, and as always, next year or in 5 years, maybe when the boys are older, it'll be a fun experience to take them to TFN and see where my joy in Transformers lies. Or they might just end up hating Transformers, you know. There's a certain well-known YouTuber that's been doing it for 10 years and his kid fucking hates Transformers. So, watch this space. Thanks for listening to my response to Bordersdude. I've been Rudy Sassoon, and always remember, it's as much about play as it is display. Thanks. Bye.